Titanic was first discovered in 1985.
The ocean is treacherous, and it does not spare even the supposedly unsinkable. Just ask the Titanic.
Poignant mysteries in the tragedy that was the Titanic.
The depths of the ocean are lined with incredible wrecks, holding treasures and much more.
These particular pieces of Edwardian jewelry are really wonderful.
Join us as we look at the most remarkable artifacts recovered from shipwrecks. Let's dive in. Number 29, the safe. These guys found a safe from the Titanic and opened it in front of the audience. Inside, they found a box, bluish in color. The researchers quickly took out the box and placed it on the table. The lid is opened and inside is a small bag, which is carefully taken out and placed in a container. They also find some coins inside the box, which are emptied out as well. Finally, the knot on the bag is undone and it is open. Out come lots of coins and a couple of necklaces. The coins are given to an expert while the necklace is carefully observed. The expert found a name written on the necklace in diamonds saying, Amy or Annie. What a fascinating find. Number 28, the jewelry. The Titanic was not exactly a ship for the poor. As you can guess, it was filled with rich people. And wherever there are rich people, there is expensive jewelry. The Titanic had tons of gold and silver jewelry on board when it sank.
Some of the jewelry we know who they belong to, some we don't, but each piece has a story to tell.
And most of it went down with it. Most of these valuables have been recovered over time. Now, normally these jewels would be worth only their value, but since these artifacts are from the Titanic wreck, they are worth way more, many times their original price. Imagine owning one of these. You could get some serious cash for just a single ring. Do you think there are any such jewels still buried in the wreck? Number 27, preserved artifacts. Anything from the Titanic is like a holy grail for the collectors. From the smallest of things like a piece of paper or a plate to the windows of the ship and its machinery, the collectors seek all of it. Some of these collections include binoculars, bags, ashtrays, hourglasses, and even eyewear.
And they tell a truer story about Titanic because they actually were on the ship. Many of the things were brand new.
And these things are not junk either. They cost a small fortune individually, and if you are selling one of the more iconic finds, then you can become a rich man. All because they are from one of the most famous shipwrecks in history. Number 26, largest piece. Now, what if you get a piece of the Titanic itself? Well, that is exactly what these people did. What you are seeing is the largest piece of Titanic ever recovered. It is so big they have to get special equipment to pull it out of the depths of the ocean. Recovering the whole ship is out of the question at the moment. Aside from the technical difficulties, most people want to keep it down there just to preserve its history. So this chunk of metal is the next best thing to the Titanic being brought back to the surface. Number 25, the special purse. Each artifact from the Titanic tells a very unique tale.
It's from the most famous maritime disaster in history. From parts of the ship to passengers' belongings. Everything here is a reminder of a tragedy at sea more than 100 years ago.
This bag, for instance, tells the story of a 63-year-old lady. The bag recovered from the depth of the ocean tells quite a bit about their life. She was a milliner by profession. Also, she was going to the US to meet up with her widowed daughter. Here is the kicker though. She was not even meant to be on the ship. According to the content of her purse, she was originally going to be traveling on a ship called Majestic, but her boarding was switched over to the Titanic. And on this unlucky voyage, she lost her life. Imagine if she had been able to board her original ship. The purse is her last remaining memory, still holding some scent of its owner. Number 24, Titanic scan. Have you ever wondered what the Titanic looks like without the whole ocean in the way? Here is your dream come true. Scientists have scanned the whole of Titanic and its surrounding area, and this is the result.
You've got to understand this is masses of data, and the experts are only just beginning to find extra details. We found a cherub that was inside the main staircase area. I mean, all these details day by day are coming out.
A fully rendered scan of the wreck that details each nook and cranny the best it can. Number 23, the chandelier. The chandeliers of the Titanic are one of the most sought-after artifacts, and these divers found one of them on their exploration mission. The chandelier is remarkably preserved, not even looking damaged in any way. The divers observed it for quite a bit, but then moved on, not wanting to disturb its final resting. There are others like it, however. This one was recovered from the wreck. While it is bent quite out of shape, it has been restored to its original beautiful condition. A reminder of how deadly the wreck really was and how much damage it did to the ship's interior. Number 22, little shoes. Seeing many of these artifacts, you may ask, why are so many shoes and clothing articles still so well preserved from the Titanic shipwreck?
Of objects that have been conserved from the Titanic. We have textiles and we have leathers.
Well, the answer is quite complicated. If you visit Titanic, you may not find any bodies, but you will find a lot of shoes. That is because these are made from leather. Back in the day, the leather was tan. The process creates enzymes that actually prevent deterioration. And the result is this: a whole shipwrecks with the bodies gone, yet the shoes, belts, jackets, and other leather items still lying around nearly pristine in condition. When scientists work on restoring these artifacts, they place them back in seawater once they are done. That is because their accidental preservation is so effective, they don't need special care. The Titanic is not the only ship that brought us remarkable artifacts. Here are some of the most remarkable finds from ancient wrecks. Number 21, 1715 treasure. Back in 1715, there were 2 Spanish fleets on their way to Spain, back from the New World. But their journey was not to be finished. All 11 ships sunk due to adverse weather conditions. While it was a tragedy, there was something rather unique about these ships. They were treasure ships, carrying extremely valuable cargo.
The 300th anniversary of the shipwreck, Brisbane and his team recovered the coins, and underwater excitement ensued.
We are talking invaluable jewelry, gold coins, and silver coin. And not just small quantities either. The fleet had tons of it. This treasure is still being found today. Treasure hunters and even casual divers have found millions of dollars worth of gold and silver in the waters. One guy even found some on the beach. Here's the fun part. Not all the gold has been recovered. Not only that, but some of the whole shipwrecks are still missing. With the location of so many of these wrecks still unknown, who knows which diver will become the next millionaire by finding the lost treasure? Would you give it a try? Now, this is not the only Spanish wreck with treasure on it. There is another. Number 20, the San Jose Treasure Galleon. The San Jose Treasure Galleon sunk in 1708, predating the treasure fleet by a few years. But don't underestimate it. This ship was carrying some serious treasure when it sunk. The San Jose had gold, silver, and most importantly, emeralds on board. All its treasure is worth billions in today's money. But don't put on your diving gear just yet. The wreck has been found already by the Colombian government, and as you can guess, it's a state secret.
The Colombian Navy has discovered 2 historical boats near the Caribbean port of Cartagena.
Excavation is expected to begin under the supervision of the Colombian government. At least it is supposed to, as soon as the fighting stops. You see, there are several parties laying claim to the precious treasure in the wreck. And with such a high value, no one wants to give in. Plus, the recovery will be super difficult, as the wreck spreads out at the depths of 700 to 2,300 feet below the surface. Who do you think the treasure should go to? Number 19, SS Central America. This ship has the nickname, the Ship of Gold. That should give you some hints regarding its cargo. You guessed it, it's gold, tons of gold. But how the gold got here is a fascinating story. You see, SS Central America was carrying Gold Rush gold when it sunk out in the ocean, and its cargo sat there until 1988, when treasure hunter Tommy Thompson found the wreck. But as soon as he found it, all hell broke. 39 insurance companies laid claim to the treasure, claiming they paid reparations back when the ship sunk. While the gold was awarded to the discovering team, at least most of it, Tommy Thompson went on to go into hiding, running from lawsuits. The fun did not stop there. Tommy Thompson was found finally at 2015. Only no one could get the location of most of the $50 million worth of gold he had hidden out of it. Another dive of the wreck retrieved another $40 million worth of gold. And according to specialists, there may still be more of it down. It's a wreck that keeps on giving. Number 18, Esmeralda. These divers found a very significant find in the seafarer world. The divers were exploring the wreck of Esmeralda that sank back in 1502. Nearly 500 years after that, it was discovered. What's fascinating is that this is the oldest known shipwreck. The ship was traveling along the Indian Ocean route from Europe, and while it did not carry a lot of treasures, it did have some artifacts to puzzle scientists, most important of which is a disc-shaped metal object. The disc-shaped thing is called an astrolabe used in navigation.
Who found that then? You! Oh, Portuguese crown and the red emblem of the world.
This specific one also happens to be the oldest mariner's astrolabe ever found. Aside from that, they also discovered a ship bell and rare coin. A fascinating find for sure. Number 17, the Bitong Shipwreck. In 1988, some fishermen were diving when they came across something strange. It was a block of corals embedded with ceramic. This was no normal find. What they had discovered was the wreck of an Arabian dhow filled with 60,000 pieces of ceramics, gold and silver, from the Tang dynasty. The ship was called the Bitong Shipwreck. and it was probably once part of the maritime Silk Route when it got sunk. The ceramics were from China, dating to the Tang Dynasty, and are extremely invaluable. The hoard is so big that it is the largest collection of Tang Dynasty ceramics cache outside of China. Not only that, but this is the first time an Arabian dhow was discovered in Southeast Asian waters. That's a lot of achievements to this wreck's name. Number 16, Yangtze River Estuary 2. While the Yangtze River Estuary 2 is not as popular as other entries on this list, it did become an experimentation ground for something new. This shipwreck got lifted out of the water nearly in one whole part. 22 closely locked curved rectangular pipes were used in the process to create a watertight base for the wreck. It was covered on all sides by a container, which was pushed into the sand using weights.
I'm so excited now. The successful excavation of the shipwreck proves that our technology using arc beams for non-contact migration of cultural relics is safe.
After that, a crane lifted the whole thing out of the water. With that, the extraction was complete. The scientists can now clean up the whole thing and make wonderful discoveries in the process. It's like art being performed. Number 15, the Wanley. This shipwreck you are witnessing is of an unfortunate ship that suffered an attack during a battle between the Dutch and the Portuguese. Its discovery happened by chance when fishermen found pottery in their fish nets. The explosion that took it down was really devastating to its cargo, consisting mostly of ceramic. The ocean floor here is littered with broken ceramic, probably worth a small fortune if they were whole. Over 9,000 kilos of porcelain has been recovered from the site by divers, and more still could be lurking at the wreck. Number 14, SS City of Cairo. The SS City of Cairo was once thought a lost treasure. That is until it was found by deep ocean search in 2015. And the prize? Well, let's just say it was a massive bucket full of silver. When I say a lot, I mean $50 million worth of silver rupee coin. The SS City of Cairo was traveling from Bombay to Britain in 1942, and during this passage, a German U-boat struck it, sinking the boat to the depths of the ocean. The treasure was considered lost to the depths until advanced technology made it possible to find and recover it. Sitting at a depth of 5,150 meters, this was the deepest recovery at the time, setting a world record. Number 13, the Nanhai No. 1. We have seen ancient wrecks, but this one is on another level when it comes to being old. The Nanhai No. 1 was a ship sailing the high seas all the way back in the 1100s, nearly 1,000 years ago. It was a merchant vessel, the first vessel discovered on the maritime Silk Road. As soon as it sank, silt covered the ship, preserving its cargo. And what was it carrying? To date, we have recovered around 100 gold artifacts.
All this evidence might offer clues and veil some annal history of the maritime Silk Road.
Thousands of coins and more ceramics than you can imagine. All of it is worth a huge fortune. They even found over 100 kilos of silver. Excavations are still underway, so who knows what else we will find. While these ships carried treasures, some ships themselves were invaluable due to their craftsmanship and historical significance. As is the case with these, number 12, Mary Rose. The Mary Rose was King Henry VIII's favorite ship. The king himself commissioned its construction as soon as he took the throne in 1510. The Mara Rose served for a full 34 years in the Navy, aiding in wars against France, Scotland, and Britain. On its last voyage, the ship was sent against the French fleet, only they loaded it a bit too much with cannon. When the ship fired, it tipped broadside, sinking soon after. They tried recovering the Mary Rose in 1836, but failed. Finally, in 1982, the recovery was a success, and the ship was brought back to the surface. It is one of the best preserved wrecks to date.
There is the wreck of the Mary Rose. It has come to the surface. There is the first sight of this flagship of Henry VIII,
yielding over 2,600 artifacts. Each artifact tells the story of how life was more than 500 years ago. It's a treasure more valuable than gold for history enthusiasts. Number 11, Endurance. Endurance is a ship with a tragic tale. Originally named Polaris, it couldn't even make it out of the docks due to low funds. When Ernest Shackleton bought it and finally lowered its sails for its maiden voyage, and then it was sent out for the doomed Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition of 1914 to 1917. The ship became icebound and sank in the Weddell Sea, where it rests today. Due to the extremely cold waters, the Endurance remains in a remarkably pristine condition. And since it was built for durability, it still holds its shape quite well. It is an artifact in of itself, reminding us of one of the most important expeditions of the heroic age of Antarctic exploration. Number 10, Burgus. This ship is perhaps one of the most important ancient discoveries in history. This wreck, known as the Burgus, is one of a kind. It is the oldest known intact shipwreck from ancient time.
Believed to be from a Greek merchant ship. And get this, carbon dating has shown it to be more than 2,400 years old.
And this preservation is unique to the environment the ship sunk in. The Greek merchant vessel sunk in the Black Sea, which has an unoxygenated layer preserving artifacts like no other. The wreck was discovered by 2 submarines over a mile below the surface. And when it was carbon dated, it was revealed the ship was sailing all the way back in 400 BC. That's so old that even the name of the ship cannot be determined. Number 9, Santa Maria. Among the biggest names in the seafarer world is Christopher Columbus, whose expedition in 1942 is legendary. And lo and behold, the ship A sued in his venture, the famed Santa Maria. The ship sank after being run aground by accident. Now keep in mind, experts are not 100% sure this wreck is Santa Maria. There is a lot of doubt. But wouldn't it be awesome if this does turn out to be the same ship used by the famed explorer? Speaking of legendary ships, check out this next entry. Number 8, Queen Anne's Revenge. We have talked about navy and merchant ships, but what about a pirate's ship? Well, this right here is the most famous of them all, the Queen Anne's Revenge. This beauty was the ship of none other than the infamous Blackbeard. Blackbeard, or Teach as he was called, ran the ship aground, either by accident or on purpose. No one is really sure. After all, this was his flagship. Now, only the wreck remains, but it is very well preserved. Discovered in 1966, the excavation was tedious but fruitful. 31 cannons were recovered as artifacts, testifying to the huge firepower this beast boasted. It's a piece of pirate history in flesh, or should I say in wood. Number 7, HMS Gloucester. While this ship is not as famous, it has a funny and tragic story behind it. The HMS Gloucester was the ride of James Stuart, Duke of York, to Edinburgh. He was on his way to get his pregnant wife. Only during the travel he began arguing with the pilot for the ship's control. "Leave it to the professionals" is a quote he had never heard apparently. As expected, the result of his meddling is this wreck. Hundreds of people lost their lives, but the Duke survived. As for the ship, it wasn't found until 2007 by 2 brothers. The identification of the wreck took longer, till 2012. Here is another ship with a funny story. Number 6, the warship Vasa. The warship Vasa was the pride of the Swedish king Gustavus Adolphus. The construction of the vessel was rushed, and the design was less than perfect. On top of that, they overweighed the ship with armament. Now the disaster that would come to be was not unforeseen. It seems none of the people who knew of the design flaws had the guts to tell the king. And so, as soon as the ship prepared to fire its first celebratory blasts, the water came in through the gun ports and the whole thing sank. The ship that was supposed to make up for the difference in the Swedish and the Polish Navy's strength now lay at the bottom of the sea. The cannons of the Vasa were recovered soon after its sinking, but the ship was not bright back up until 1961. A sad fate for a remarkably poorly built ship. Number 5, the Ceria Gold. Not all treasures come with a wreck, as was the case with the Ceria Gold. The treasure trove was discovered in the port city of Caesarea and is dated to be 900 years old. And how much is the treasure? Well, a grand total 24 gold coins and a single earring found inside a pot. While not as huge a find as some other entries on our list, it is still a significant artifact from ancient time. Number 4, Nuestra Señora de Atocha. The Nuestra Señora de Atocha was a treasure ship that sank near the Florida Keys back in 1622. And what prize did it hold? The list is lengthy. It had gold, silver tobacco, indigo, and gems aboard worth a lot of money. Most of the wreck was discovered back in 1985 by Mel Fisher. He had found the treasure after spending 16 years of his life searching for it. One problem: the state of Florida laid a claim to the treasure. The original discoverers had to fight tooth and nail in court, but finally, they were awarded sole ownership and probably walked away rich men and women. Number 3, SS Republic. The SS Republic, a sidewheel steamship, was on its way to New Orleans to deliver some very valuable cargo. In today's money, it would be worth around $150 million. The ship sank during its journey. There were gold, silvers, and lots of coins on, 51,000 of which were recovered during excavation. The wreck was found in 2003, along with 14,000 other artifacts. An incredible find for sure. You can actually buy one of these coins rather easily from online markets. That is, if you have the money for it. Number 2, Herac Clan. Here is a find like no other. While we have not found Atlantis, we have found this. This is the Herac Clan, a whole city underwater. Initially, this city was on land, but not for long. Due to the changing landscape, the whole place sunk slowly over time under the sea, and there it sat for 1,200 years with sand and debris covering it entirely. In the year 2000, the city was discovered by underwater archaeologist Frank Gaudio. As you can guess, tons of artifacts were uncovered during the excavation, such as jewels, ceramics, and coin. What an incredible sight. Number 1. Antira Shipwreck. The Antira Shipwreck holds one of the greatest mysteries of ancient time, and no one has been able to solve it. The wreck was found near the Antira island in Greece, from where it got its name. While most of the treasures recovered were not really remarkable, like ceramics and bronze statues, one stood out. It was a mechanism dubbed the world's first computer. Another name for it is the Antikythera mechanism. We are still not sure of the exact purpose of this device, but the leading theory is that it could track the sun and moon and predict eclipses. That is very advanced machinery for the 2nd century BC, the time it was built. The weird thing is, no other such device has yet been discovered, dating back to the same period, making it one of a kind. What exactly is this? Who built it? And how did it get here in this wreck? The answers elude the best of the experts. Well, guys, that was it for this video. Which one of these wrecks did you find the most interesting? Do you think we missed an important one? Let us know in the comments down below. We would love to. What your thoughts? Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed watching it. And while you are at it, why not subscribe to keep up with new uploads? We have a lot more in store for you in the future. You can also ring the bell icon to be notified of upload. What are you waiting for? Go do all that and keep on watching our next videos. So, see you in the next one. Goodbye.